7 o'clock, we're going to call the meeting to order. And we're going to be starting with executive session.
I make a motion to move into executive session.
Second.
You are going to read that little statement.
Yeah, I know. I move that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or a person involved at a substantial disadvantage. And I move.
Pause. You want a second to that first half?
I will second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We have nobody on Zoom, right?
Sarah's on.
Sarah's on Zoom.
Sarah.
All right. And then you further move.
And I further move, we go into executive session to hear a grievance under 1 VSA 313, parentheses 1, parentheses B.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So we will now enter executive session. All right, we are back out of executive session. We are going to be moving on with our agenda. So I will remind the board of our board norms, maintain our focus, communicate respectfully, be present, keep the board productive and effective, and respect the agenda. We do have a couple changes to the agenda. So under new business, Westford I Thrive will not be presenting tonight, and we'll be adding a financial update. Any other changes to the agenda for this evening?
I think so.
All right, then we will move on to our student report.
All right, well, obviously I have 2 new friends here with me. These guys are going to be doing the student reports with you guys next year. I won't be here, obviously. Yeah, so it is the end of the year. We only have 5 days left of school, 4 days plus 1 makeup day, but it is pretty exciting. It's almost summer, and that means graduation is soon. So graduation's on the 14th. So seniors are wrapping up. We just had our senior prank, which was a lot of fun. We wrote a bunch of stuff on the windows and on the drive-in. I'm sure you saw some stuff. We also, a bunch of us camped outside in the parking lot, the teacher's parking lot, and we had a nice cookout. not on school property, but we did. It was nice and a lot of fun. And then we had our senior skip day today. So we skipped out today, went swimming. That was fun too. So yeah. As far as other stuff, I'm gonna let these guys take it away.
So as far as sports goes, our varsity girls softball and our varsity boys baseball team is in the playoffs this year. The varsity girls actually just won their semifinal game and are moving on to the championships. Very good. And then our boys have their semifinal game versus Blue Mountain tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes. Middle school softball and baseball just had their last game down on the field.
Boys won, girls tied.
Yeah. And then the high school track and field team went up to Burlington for the state track and field, and we had some places with some high school and middle school kids. So all good in the sports department.
And then it was last Saturday we had prom at the Retreat Farm. Super fun. Actually, wait, today's Monday. 2 Saturdays ago. Sorry. It's been a long week. I can't. Prom was great. Great venue. Nice food. Nice dancing. All around great. Good success. And then we had the jazz band over this Friday. I got my days right this time. And the jazz band went to Burlington for the Burlington Jazz Festival. That was a huge hit, despite the rain. We just barely missed the rain. We were super lucky. And then, what else do we have?
That's all.
Hats Off. Yeah, Hats Off was good over the weekend. I think it was Thursday, Friday, right?
Yeah.
Yep. It was good.
Oh yeah, and then we also just had field day, which was good a good day
We
fun for
had
the students.
we got
Kona ice.
Kona ice, which is basically like sugar ice.
Huge hit with the
Huge
kids.
hit, yeah.
A lot of sugar, a lot of ice.
A lot of fun.
All right, that's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for students? Yeah.
I just wanted to say, Eli, thank you.
Oh, of course. All right, moving along to public comment. We don't have any in the room. Any online? Oh, Chris, hang on, let's do any online. I'm not seeing any online. So Crystal would like to address the board as a member of the public.
Yes. So I had sent all the board members a picture. I don't know if you all got it. So I did write something because I'm just really upset about this and I knew I wouldn't be able to freestyle it, so I wrote something. I'm a school board member, but I am a parent first. On Wednesday, June 4th, I received a call my child was being treated for a scratch to his neck. I was told another student had attacked him because he said something unkind. I immediately knew who the attacker was. The same student also choked him on March 7th. My child responded by saying he deserved it because he said something the attacker did not like. The nurse told him, "You should try not to hurt someone's feelings, but it is never okay for someone to physically attack you." I told her I would have this conversation with him as well. I wasn't that upset. It's just a scratch. When I saw his neck, and I have provided a picture to you guys, I cannot even put into words how upset I was. This is the second time this child has attacked my child. She has also assaulted my other child, which I am not sure is documented, as well as another child in his class. I know of these 4 incidents, but actually believe there are more. I have empathy for children who do not have support at home, but my empathy has run out. Why are we not protecting our students and staff from this abuse? Why are these violent children remaining in our classrooms? I believe this child is dangerous. I believe she is going to seriously injure a student or worse. I'm terrified that student will be my child. I have been through 2 serious assaults with my older children. My daughter slept on my floor in a sleeping bag for a year. She was out of school for a month and only went back because we were threatened with truancy and DCF. My son was the lucky winner of 3 plates and 15 screws to hold his face together, with an added bonus of years of having his eyelashes burned off because after the surgery, they grew towards his eye, creating massive infection. I don't wish these situations on any parent. I will not sit in a surgical waiting room again because my student was assaulted in school. I want this district to have clear-cut policies and procedures in place for the upcoming school year. More importantly, I want those procedures followed. I will no longer hear that a student who brings harm to the school community has to remain in school due to their situation at home. If a physically violent child cannot be at home, then proper agencies need to be contacted for assistance. I can tell you, I am so scared my child is going to be stabbed. I have involved the state police and I'm seeking a protective order against a minor child. I am doing that because number one, I'm afraid for my kid. Number two, this child needs help that's not coming from home. So putting these agencies in place will hopefully get this kid the help they need. And number three, to hold the administration to an accountability, to take action, to protect our kids from these violent assaults. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment? I don't see any hands up there, do you?
No, sir.
All right, we had put Jamaica Village School discussion on the agenda. Is there anybody on from Jamaica that wants to speak to that? I don't see. So we did have a document sent out on possible Jamaica Village School options. We had a request from the select board chair. They're not here tonight. I guess there was some confusion in the warning for the meeting, so we will kick this down the road onto another agenda in the future unless somebody wants to discuss something about the Jamaica Village School this evening. Hearing nothing, we will push it down onto another agenda. All right, how about the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of 5/12/25.
We have a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Give a second. Any corrections to the minutes?
It is always me. I'm sorry, and I didn't even read the last page fully. I skimmed it. But there's a part, I'm trying to find it. It's in a report that Scotty gave. And it said Sheila Olbermann, or it was really weird. It should just be Overman. I'm trying to find it. Like it was far enough off that you may not know who it was.
So correct it to say Overman.
Yeah.
You're saying.
Yeah, Overman.
Any other corrections? All right, all those in favor of a,
I think I was there for part of me. I don't know if I wasn't there for all of it, if it doesn't.
no, if you're there for part of it, you should show up.
You should be on
Yep. So we'll add that. Thank you.
I will
Virtual, it was not in person.
I will amend my motion for the adjustments. And it's under the principal reports, new book. It is the I. Under that is where Sheila Overman correction should be.
All right, so. Second?
Second.
You're good. All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Correspondence. So we have the correspondence.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody get a chance to read through your correspondence.
They're not in there. They're in the reports, under reports on the website. Didn't get them.
They're not up in the correspondence section yet, but they're in the report section.
Yeah, they would be moved to correspondence after the meeting, I believe. Is how it works. But they are publicly accessible in the meantime.
Any discussion from the board on that?
Do we have an official response or recommendation from the administration? I mean, it seems a little early and it's also only one side. What say the other side here?
So just so you guys know, I consider to be a pretty big error about 7 years ago and hired a teacher because of what I thought I knew in April about the class size that was coming in. And I have set up right now with Ms. Bostrom that we're gonna meet, I think, on August 3rd when she'll still not be at work, I'll be back. And we're gonna look at what the class size really looks like then. We have a little bit of a buffer because we fund a long-term sub situation at the beginning of every kindergarten year, because we don't know what we're getting in kindergarten, and it's really important that we support our teacher and figure out who these kids are and what we need. And I've never, after that period, asked the board to rehire that person. We've never had to, but I would imagine that as we move forward through August, Shelley and I'll be working in lockstep to make sure that we have that properly staffed. And I'm not, again, I don't personally feel like I should make a decision now about what I know now. I mean, it really, a lot can happen over the summer in 2 months, and I don't feel like we have the big picture right now. There is a hiring thing where, yes, I would rather, if I knew for sure, I would rather hire now, a pair now than hiring in August. But we do have 6 weeks after the beginning of the school year, so I think that we have time to get that done. So that's my opinion, and Bob and I have talked about it. And this is what we've done. Shelley and I have done this for the last 3 years, because it's really hard to know what to do, when the numbers start coming in and you start, trying to figure it out. I mean, the last thing we want to do is end up in a situation where we have 26 kids and not enough staff or even enough space, but right now we're at 20 and we have three kids that we're not sure about. That's the way it is right now.
Am I mistaken, or did we talk about this in a previous meeting? That you and Randy had discussed it.
Well, I sent a letter home to families, just like Renee had done 2 years prior from Townsend, where I just said, I've got a big class, they have a small class. If you're interested in school choice, Bob will waive the deadline, and you let me know, and we'll get you a tour of the school, and we'll see what you think. I don't think we had any official responses to that, unfortunately, but it was worth a shot.
Yeah.
So yes, this should be familiar to you. I always try to keep the board up to date when I have either like this, a really big class, or like 2 years ago, a really small class coming in, because I want you guys to know. I mean, when we have a big class, there's the potential for staffing issues. When we have a really small class, it's pretty inefficient and expensive. So I like you guys to be aware. I figured you'd want to be aware. But.
Yeah. No, I appreciate, and I think that that the board, I just wanted to kind of have it said that the board was aware and and that the administration did try to do something already. And otherwise, thank you for your other commentary on it.
Would it be worth investigating some of our policies where we have a large class at Newbrook or Townsend and a small class somewhere else, rather than hiring an additional person? Just equalizing the classes through policies, it seems more efficient that way, at least financially.
It's an interesting idea. It's one that Drew and I actually talked about today, because we were looking through the choice policy to see if there was any way to do that. And in fact, one of the goals of the choice policy, other than to give families a choice, was to try to create more stable class sizes in at that time, 3 different buildings. But there's nothing in the policy that gives the administration or the board the authority to just move people unless they're asking for it. So we do not have a policy that would allow us to do that at this time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they do?
Well, that's what I was asking. Should we see something policy is taking up?
Brattleboro.
Oh, well, Brattleboro's a little bit different, but you can explain that.
In Brattleboro, when I moved to town, we were walking distance from Green Street, and they told us if you want your kids to go to Green Street, you can request it, but we have the right to pick your kid up on a bus and take them to Academy if the class sizes are, So I personally think that 2 balanced classes would be great, and the only way to get there is by policy, because because you can imagine that it's not just about geography for folks. There are folks that are up north that are going south, and
There's actually a second way to do it. It's to have everybody in one elementary building.
Yeah.
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 Rip open old ones.
I would say though that in the
but-
meantime that it might be worth policy folks considering something like that. The other issue is then how many buildings your kids are in and all those kinds of things. There's a lot of factors. Ultimately though, the goal would be great.
So we have an online. Sarah. Go ahead, Sarah.
Hi, thank you. And I apologize, my video is not working for some reason. I was wondering if there's a specific number of kids, particularly for a kindergarten class, at which point there really should be a second person in the room. And if Scotty, if you have a sense of an actual confirmation of people who are absolutely definitely coming in the fall for the kindergarten class?
Well, I could say, Sarah, thank you for the questions. I could say that we don't definitely anything. Right now, we have registrations for 20 kids, and we have 3 other kids that are kind of like, we're not sure. We've had a lot of contact with them. They've come to some events, but they haven't committed. But like anybody could lose their job over the summer or get a job over the summer, or a family could move in with lots of kids. Like we just don't have any more specific information than that. And as far as class size goes, as far as the state law goes, I believe, and Bob probably knows better than me, I'm sure he knows better than me, is that it's an average of K-2, and because we have such a tiny little 2, I have a feeling that we could never hit that bar. So it can't be looked at objectively. It's going to be looked at subjectively by you folks. And so it's going to be like if our classroom teacher, who's amazing, Shelley Bostrom, if she and I come to you and say we need or we don't need, you'll have to decide what to do about that, and there won't be like some line in the sand that you can point to. It's gonna have to be a call you make, I believe. Is that what you?
Yeah, the policy is it's an average.
Yeah.
Within a school of a grade band, which is your policy, and it's actually not even a minimum; it's a optimum. So
I feel
Sorry, may I make another comment or question?
Yep. Go ahead.
Thank you. But just in general, I know we have that policy, but in practice, for a kindergarten class, is there a recommendation where the way that is decided, it's so skewed?
I don't know that there's like a magic number. I think the size of the classroom is a factor. The diversity of abilities in the class is a factor. I do know that, and Emily might be able to be angry at me for mentioning her in this conversation, but there's been a lot of different numbers thrown around for kindergarten minimum class sizes at the State House this session. And it's ranged from 10 to 18, right? I mean, it's been in that window.
Yeah, the minimum you said.
And those were minimums.
Those were minimums, and
Yeah.
I can give you an update only because I just found out today that the Committee of Conference has agreed with the Senate's version, which for kindergarten, minimum class size for kindergarten and first grade is 10.
And there's no maximum.
No, but I believe we do have a recommendation in statute already about maximum or
But I think that's even built on, on the average.
it is.
Yeah.
They both are.
Yeah. And is it 24? I think it's 24 averaged over the 3 grades.
Yeah.
So if you do the math, and I could do the math for you if you want me to, but that's going to really, for us, because we have only 8 kids in 2nd grade next year, it's going to be really hard to reach that maximum.
Yeah.
So again, it's ultimately going to be Shelley and I getting together, deciding how we want to approach you and whether or not we feel like we need or we don't need, and then you folks making a judgment call at the time. And And so I think that we, in order to plan for that, I'm gonna have to work with Bob in August about.
But even then, it could be another wait and see through when the sub is in the room
Yeah.
for 6 weeks as well,
Yeah.
right?
And we'll collect data during that time too. So we'll be collecting data about out of classroom time and about incontinence and about off-task behaviors and all kinds of things that could require someone's time that is either there or not. But I've got to tell you that I'm going to try to do my best to make sure that Shelley Bostrom, I believe she's an expert, and I'm going to do my best to support her and to make sure that you guys understand what is going on in my building so you can staff me appropriately.
Table it.
So, we don't have to make any decisions. but-
I feel pretty confident that Scotty and Shelley are gonna come and say, this is what we need.
All right, so we'll move on to our next agenda item, approving finances.
I'll do it, Joe.
Okay, I'll second it.
I'm looking for approval for pay order 81 for $13,605.76, please.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? The ayes have it. Thank you. Heidi, you're up. Tax anticipation, financial update first, sorry, skip that. Want to do the financial update first?
Sure, thanks. I just wanted to give you an idea of where we're ending. I just want to emphasize that we still have the month of June and some accruals. So this isn't the end all, but I just wanted to give you a brief update. So you should have together a fund balance report with a couple pages attached showing the projects that Greg has had done in our school district. So on the summary page, it shows you that you may be ending with a fund balance in the general fund around 200,000, 230. I broke it down below to show you specifically about the general fund that you have received almost 319,000 more in revenue than anticipated. And it's broken down by how much was received for Wyndham students tuition attending Townsend. Then you have an ELL grant, which is English language learner students that you didn't expect. 60,000 more in high school tuition than anticipated. And we've done really well with interest accruing from some investment accounts I put money into, and then your regular checking account. So on the revenue side, you've looked really good. On the expenditure budget, I'm anticipating could be overspent. I still have a number of things encumbered in our financial system, so it could go either way. We may be really close to the expenditure budget. However, we underspent the expenditure budget because of JVS not running a full school. So there should have been some savings, but we had unanticipated tuition expense for Jamaica students attending Wardsboro. We had health insurance increases that impacted the budget, overspent the paraeducator budget, and then we have the repairs and projects that Greg managed to accomplish for the West River. So overall, you're right on the line of overspending the expenditure budget by a little bit, but that's certainly offset by all the additional revenue that you have brought in. And part of the building repairs and operations that happened were also, you started a fund balance with 165,000 because the board approved a year ago to put money aside for crisis and security improvements, as well as the baseball backstop project. So that is part of the 263,000 that was spent beyond the expenditure budget. So I am just wondering going forward I know you talked about having a budget committee meet on a maybe quarterly basis and potentially over the summer as the numbers all come in before your next meeting. I don't know if you're meeting in July or not, but maybe before the August meeting, we can get together and I can go over more thoroughly specific numbers if that's what the board pleases. And do you have any questions for me about that?
Questions?
Just pick a date in August, Heidi.
I will look at the calendar.
July, late July.
Well,
End of July.
Yeah, end of July would be better.
I'll do it from Bermuda.
When are you in Bermuda? We don't want to impact that.
Last week of July.
Okay.
We will find a date offline.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
wondering about the first week of August, if that's the case, because we want to get past the accruals, which will probably be happening at the end of July. So
Yeah.
something like that. But
Okay.
you can talk and let me know.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Any other questions on the finances for Heidi?
Great job.
All right.
I love it.
You're back up with tax anticipation note.
So as your treasurer, I have followed in the footsteps of those before me and asked M&T to prepare a tax anticipation note, because as we get into the end of August, beginning of September, there are chances that we will run low on funds before taxes come in, which happen, I think, towards the end of September, beginning of October, depending on the town. So I am hoping that the board members who are attending today, there's 3 separate documents that I was given. The amount is $1 million that I put in for, which is less than we've done previously. And I only draw on it when I determined what the need will be. So I probably won't draw on $1 million, but it's very possible that I'll draw 500 or 600,000 sometime when it's needed. And I try to pay it back by December or so, because by then usually we are flush enough to pay our bills without it.
All right. So we get a motion to sign the tax anticipation line of credit with M&T for $1 million, and I'll pass it around. And I need signatures on the back page of each one of these from the board members should we get the motion and it's approved.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion.
I will second it.
We have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? The ayes have it. So 3 signatures, please, as we pass the document around.
Thank you.
Excited.
Thank you, Heidi. All right, principals reports.
I want to thank Amy Duffy, who is our garden coordinator. She's only in my building less than a day a week, and she put together a farm and field day that was the best yet, maybe. It was so fun, and we had a beautiful day. We had to use the rain date, and the kids went around in multi-age groups and learned all different kinds of things about the environment, about our local environment and geography, about raising animals in captivity, rabbits, goats, yarn, wool. They were learning about sorting waste, and they had a Wyndham Solid Waste came and ran a game with them. It was super fun, and we ended in a song in a circle, and it was just a really beautiful day. I'd also, since I know that we don't have much time, so I just really quickly would like to also, so again, that was Amy Duffy and her team. I'd like to also say that our 5th graders who are graduating have, instead of doing a game against the staff, a kickball game, they're doing an all-school hide and seek, which we're doing this week. They wrote the rules, and we have all kinds of safety things in place. We'll see how it goes. Finally, I want to thank the 5th grade families. They came to me after spending had closed and said they wanted to do a trip with our 5th graders. And we managed to get it together. Honestly, Leanne Gilson was a real lead in this, and it was an incredible thing that she pulled off. We took all of our 5th graders down to Six Flags and had a blast. There were like 5 or 6 kids, never been on a roller coaster before. I drove my own car with a couple of kids that couldn't be on the bus, and we made it happen. And I'm actually very, very proud of it. It was something that I would naturally be like, no, it's a little late in the season for that, you know. But we went with it and it worked. And I think that's because there was so much positivity behind it and so much collaboration. And it was the PTO and it was local businesses and it was Leanne.
But it was well insured.
Yeah, and I was properly insured. That's right. That's right. Thank you.
So, can I just
Your
make
question?
a
Yep.
So next year, I think it would be a good idea for Townsend and Newfane to collaborate because all those kids are coming into Leland and Gray together.
You know, I was thinking about that
So
this
how
year.
great would it
They went
be?
the next day, I think.
Yeah.
Crystal.
It
So,
was
so I'll tell you,
insanity.
I would love to do that. And for transportation, it'll be more efficient.
Yeah.
And for groupings. And we do that when we go to Keek as well, when we go to
Right.
Key Wade. So I would love to do that. And you can be sure that that'll
Yeah.
be something that I work on with Randy.
Thanks.
Nice idea.
Any other questions? Dana?
Just a quick segue, Randy is out, he's at Tech Week for a play that he's performing in, so that's why he's not with us. He said that you're not allowed to miss Tech Week. So I guess that's the thing, that's where he is, in case you're wondering.
All right.
It doesn't mean you get his time and yours.
All right, I'll cut it short.
I already took his time.
Come on. No, I the first thing on our academic proficiency, I worked with Samson, our data person, and wanted to show you middle school numbers, and we lumped a lot together, but I thought the spring growth there, we have 56, almost 57% of students meeting expected targets. It's combined 6, 7, 8. It's also combined reading and math. So it's kind of just a very large generalization, but the good news is almost 60% of our students are meeting expected growth for the spring. That's great news for our students in middle school. And there's some details going on the page. I'll let you look at them, but Josanna Maxon did a great job talking about how busy the end of the school year has been. It's been good. I mean, it's been good. And they're right, like it's been a blur too, but even tonight, I had 7 staff who showed up. We met with, actually 32 people showed up tonight. I'm like, whoa, that was a lot of people. Those 7 staff did one of the best, like welcome to Leland and Gray presentations I've ever seen. It went way over time, an hour. I'm like, but the parents are like, that was awesome. We needed to hear all of that. Thank you. So again, the staff, we loved seeing the parents show up with their kids. We're asking some questions, but we wanted to try it and see, not let it go through the summer. If you're coming to school here next year, come in now, meet some people, get some names, get some contacts. So as you think of things, you can reach out. It was really nice. So yeah, we're headed straight for graduation on Saturday. It's been busy, but it's been good. Oh, and the other thing I'd like to pull out is this. Small thing, but down in May discipline, it's actually lower than our April discipline report. And even today, like walking around school toward the end of the day, it's like halls are clear, kids are in classes, they're working for finals, they're working on final projects. It's like the teachers are really doing a nice job, and the students are too. Senior prank, I don't know if you guys, I don't want to get into a whole lot, but like senior prank's been in the building before, and we had to have a talk with this senior class about like, maybe you should just be out of the building. But, you know, and you could see that come in different ways, but I will give credit to this senior class. They took it well, they handled it well. Like, good for them. They blocked the staff from parking this morning, which was funny. They camped out overnight, but like, yeah, there's chalk and silly string or whatever, but like, no profanity. They cooked out, they had fun. It's like, so even our senior class continues to like rise to that. Like, they're good people. I almost said kids, they're not kids. They're young adults and they're doing a good job. So health of the school still like rolling ahead and impressive. Staff and students are just doing a great job. And it's gonna allow us to really dig into academics more and more. So I'm happy with how things are going here. Fast, it's a little bit of a blur. we were just talking, I'm like, was that this year? Oh man. But it's okay, it's good, you know, it's all right. I think things are going well, so that's my report. Was that too long? Do I have a minute? No, I'll stop.
Questions for Dana?
Thank you.
Superintendent's report.
All right, we got my June cabinet report recently. I am pleased to add to that we have agreed to terms with a director of student services to replace Stephanie. So we are very happy. We had a pretty rigorous process, multiple candidates, multiple committees, all buildings, all types of staff were involved. And we have signed an agreement with a woman by the name of Kristen Peoples, who we are stealing from Springfield School District, along with our director of SEL, who is also coming from the Springfield School District. So we're raiding former cupboards and feeling good about that. So she's a 30-year veteran of being a special ed teacher. She's not been a director before, but we feel very strongly she's got a wide variety of experiences and she's up for the challenge. And so yeah, we were excited about that. And I would say that I always feel kind of silly even giving like any kind of legislative update with Emily in the room. But the way I understand it is that there's more discussion this week in the committee of conference, and that there will be a vote on Monday, maybe, and we'll see where that goes. So I understand today that hearing the news that the Senate leadership continues to be struggling, and that the House leadership is working more closely with the administration than with the Senate, which is perhaps unusual, but who knows how this will play out. So yeah, feel like something may happen, but as of right now, we don't know what that will be. So I mean, Emily could probably add to that, but that's the essence of my report for now, other than what's in the cabinet report.
Questions? You want to add any comments to that?
Well, I did, and then I also have a question, but I'll just add on to that quickly, that the committee of conference starts meeting again on Wednesday. And anybody who wants to watch that, you can do that online. It's all streamed live on YouTube. So feel free to do that. I know a lot of work has been done over the last week and a half working on modeling of the two options that we have, essentially. So we have the House version and the Senate version, and we're trying to come together in the middle on that. And so Joint Fiscal Office has been working very closely, trying to, model all the proposals that are out there on the table to make sure that everybody understands. So hopefully be very prepared when we go in on Wednesday. The legislature comes back on Monday to see what comes out of the next few days. So, but the other thing I wanted to mention and ask about is H480 is our miscellaneous ed bill, and it's still, since we haven't adjourned, we can still take that up, and our plan is to take that bill up. I don't know whether it will pass. I don't know whether the Senate will pass it. I don't know whether the governor will sign it. But if all those things happen, and I have no reason to believe they won't, it includes a phone-free school portion of that. And I just wanted to put it out there because it's not just for high school. It's for the state of Vermont schools.
What would the take effect date on that be?
I think we bumped it a year to give, so
you need to develop policies and all that.
Yeah, it'll be FY 27 is what I believe. You'd have to go back a little bit date, but there was some push to get it in place for next year, but policies will all need to be developed, and in the end, we decided to allow the field to take the time. That includes boards, because boards are gonna have to deal with that, and administration and all that. So, and getting feedback from students and everything else. But I feel pretty good about the language that we put in there, and feel pretty confident about the move. And Dana, when you mentioned lots of activity going on and good things going on in the building, I don't know whether we actually have, many schools already have a phone policy, and I don't know, or procedure, and I don't know whether you're gonna see a major change here, but it does also include personal devices, meaning smartwatches, and the testimony we took it's not actually in the high school level where the watches were a big deal, it's actually in the elementary level where the watches are a bigger deal. So, that there is a amendment to pull out the personal devices. The committee, my committee voted 10-1 against supporting that amendment, but it will go to the floor and that amendment could pass, but my guess is it probably won't because there wasn't support for it in the committee. But I think it's really important that personal devices are a part of it, not just phones. So anyway, anybody have any questions? Happy to hear any thoughts as well. I'm not hearing any complaints. The students we took a ton of testimony and the students were very powerful, I will tell you, in their feedback. Positively, I'm not saying every student came in and said, we should do this, but a lot of them said I didn't really like it, but after my school implemented a policy, what a change it made. And two things were noted by school personnel, and that is the level of communication and volume in the cafeteria and in the hallways between classes changes exponentially when phones are put away. And it is a bell to bell.
Yeah.
So schools can, there's obviously some waivers and exceptions. Some kids need a phone to measure their blood sugar level. So, we've made sure that there's the ability to, and for teachers to be able to use them. We found a lot of high school science classes and other special classes use cell phones for positive things, and so it's not eliminating that use. As a school board, we as a school board will get to decide.
And I think you did hear similar stuff from our kids when they did the first Journey Away trip, when they were on the train to New Orleans. They talked about coming back and being like, yeah, we were hesitant to have our phones taken away for that entire train ride, but in the end they were like, yeah, but it helped us get to know each other better. It was a good thing. So yeah, I think you're dead on. They will grumble at first. Some staff will grumble for sure.
Yes,
but I think it's probably a really good thing. Yeah.
Great. We'll see if it passes. Hope so.
I don't know how I'm gonna text Dana in the middle of the day, but
I don't look anyway.
fair point.
Anything else?
No.
So we've got 3 policies we warned last month. We want to discuss those, adopt those, do anything with those?
Let's adopt them.
All right. Would you like to make that as a motion?
I make a motion to adopt the policies Code D8, selection of library materials, Code C8, pupil privacy rights, and Code B3, alcohol and drug-free workplace.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to approve the policies. Is there discussion?
Quasi-related. If you are bored someday and you, on our website, check out the Stratton board's policy section, not ours, but the Stratton one, and you can see how we're thinking about how we're kind of playing around with how it could be arranged so that the names are visible even though they're not the title of the file. So check it out when you get a chance, the Stratton portion of the policies. And just see what it looks like and see if that is intriguing, because right now the complaint's been you can't tell. And so this is a different way without changing the file names, just to kind of take a peek. So anyways, unrelated but related.
Anything else? No other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. All right. Number 6, surveying students that are exiting or have already exited. This is something that we've discussed a couple times. Lindsay wanted to present, but she needed to be at a playoff game this evening. So she did send a little blurb, which I'll read. It says, well, the school population of West River Education District provides many positive impacts on student experience. It's also greatly impacts students, also greatly impact school budgeting and potential opportunities. The West River Education District Board would like to gather data directly from families regarding their child's school experiences. It is our hope that this data will inform decision-making to better meet the needs of all students and potential students, to keep as many of these students in our district as possible. And so when she sent me this, I talked to Lindsay about it, and really the goal would be to reach out to students with some sort of tool that would be either something that the board could generate or maybe the administration could help us generate, to try to find out what is it that is getting, what are the reasons that we're seeing students that are deciding to go somewhere else? And is there something that we can do as a board to maybe change a perception that may not be real, or an offering that may be, and utilizing this time over the summer to reach out to those students. So that was the request, and I'll open it for discussion.
I'll just say that the board may not be aware of this unless you happen to also be a parent, but there is a survey tool that we use with all families once a year in this, is it spring for families? Fall?
Yeah, family is winter.
Families, he says winter, he says fall, who knows?
It was a while ago.
Annually, there's a survey that goes out through the Panorama survey system that collects sort of culture and climate data of parents' experiences of kids. I don't believe we've shared that with the board. I don't think we did when I was principal. But if that's something as a starting place, the board's interested in seeing some of that data. Each school has its own separate results, and I think it puts it together for a district result as well.
Yep. Although I don't see that.
Yeah, I don't swear to me about it.
I think
maybe, but it might just be a whole SU though. It might not be by district. It might be the whole SU. At any rate, we can see school by school data on parent, like in a sense, satisfaction on current situations. So we could share that as a starting point at a future meeting, maybe part of a principal report, and then go from there, or do that. But I just want to make sure people knew we already have a tool that does that for existing parents around culture and climate.
And that would only be students that are enrolled in.
That's currently enrolled students, correct.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask the clarifying question, because it sounds like what Lindsay was asking is, why did you not choose to go to our district? Why did you leave our district? For those that have opted not to come here. Am I understanding that right?
And some of this is about, we've received a lot of requests for tuition out, way more than we ever have in the past. And is there a reason other than geographic that people are deciding that they want to send their kids somewhere else? So could we utilize that same tool to?
It's a great question. I mean, I think you can make your own survey questions. The ones that are in there that we use for the climate and culture are nationally normed, so you can compare what the responses are with other schools across the country. So if you're creating your own questions, you wouldn't be able to nationally norm them, but other than that, you could still collect the data. So I could talk to our data guy and see if he's got some ideas on how to create something in that. The trick will be
finding the email,
getting email addresses to send it out to. You can do it with a Scantron, but then you're not necessarily guaranteeing you're getting the right people, because if you just put that publicly, you might not get the right people. So it'd probably be best if we knew who the people were. So if we had like target groups, like are we talking about people in 9th grade that access high school choice? Are we talking about families that go private school? Are we talking about homeschool? Are we talking about all of those things? So just being able to like narrow down who we're trying to target, and then figure out how do we have their contact information. If they were here before, then yes, we should have it. But some might not be. So just trying to figure that out. That would be the trick.
Dana, you wanted to?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, so I was looking at the Panorama family data, and so this is the thing that's a little weird. We went from having not great numbers. Last year's survey, 50 people. This year, 19. I'm like, it's like, I don't even know that's accurate. It's like when you get that low, 19 parents, it's like, whatever.
That's my struggle with our surveys, is that people participate.
Yeah.
Emily's next.
So, yeah, I think it's great to get as much data as we can on this topic. I guess I'm trying to anticipate, and we just started having the conversation around how to reach the people who aren't here. That's very hard. And so I think this is going to be, if we're going to do something like this, it's going to have to be you know, a annual some way to, and it'll have to be adjusted. I also just want to say with surveys, it's one thing when you have national one that you're adapting, but I think it's really important that we are very careful about the language, as simple as possible, as few questions as possible. Surveys can lead people in certain directions, so before we send anything out, I think the board would need to look at the draft and decide whether it gets to exactly what our goals are. And I think we need to be very clear. I like what Lindsay wrote, and I think we should, maybe if we could all see that as you know, have Lindsay send that out to us, or you could send it out to us so that we could think about it a little bit more. I think it's really important to recognize, I mean, you know, in our district, we don't, I mean, are we talking about just West River? Are we talking about Wyndham Central? What are we talking about? Because we get students here that are not from the part of the West River District, I assume, we used to.
Well, she already mentioned the overflow of tuitions, so yes, we have revenue. So yes, we are getting some in as well.
Yeah, so I mean, how broadly we want to distribute it and how to get it out. Those are just really important pieces to all of this. The knowledge is good.
So 50 to 19, was there timing of the year when the survey went out, or?
It's the same time.
Yeah, same time. I don't know. Better way to advertise it. I mean, sometimes a lot of these messages that come through just kind of maybe get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
But I think that data is important, right? That's our captive audience. They're here, so they may not be leaving, but they could also, I'm sure they're not all positive, right? There's probably a mixed bag, and there probably could be some information about, right, where are we gapped? What, you know, you're not leaving, but you're not happy, and how can we help you?
When were those surveys sent through Alma? Because didn't we have a problem with Alma where some people were getting correspondence and some weren't for some reason?
I don't remember that, but it was, I think it's like, might be September, October, I think this goes out. The best response was, this isn't really a great answer, but at the time I was doing ice cream for the sports, like, I think we were like 60 people did like by hand. But that was cool, but it's not gonna give you the type of, this has a lot of questions on it. Yeah, it's a different type of thing.
You know, you almost want to go backwards and make paper copies of some really short thing and hand it out on parent-teacher conference night and raffle, you know, a TV off, you know, and pull one name out, you know, like you almost want to do that. It's really hard to get anybody. I don't know about you guys, but when I get surveys, you know, I'm like, do I have to do this? Am I going to get in trouble if I don't? Is what I think about. You know, so I can understand it is hard. I was also thinking though that maybe we ought to look at the people that are choosing in 8th grade or choosing in 5th grade and find out why they're choosing what they're choosing. So why, like, if let's say, and I think all of my students are coming here next year, or the ones that have, but anyways, to ask our 5th grade families, why did you choose to not go to Leland and Gray? Like, I think that would be a nice point too, and same thing would happen in 8th grade, I'm sure, from Marlboro or from other schools.
Yes.
It would take a little work to get the questions right, but if there's a way to like send something broadly to families of school-age children in the, whether you do it at the, but we could work with the towns or even with something like the regional planning commission, like just, or maybe the board just does it, but I think there are ways to, it might not be perfect data, but even like the kind of post office data will let you think you're choosing families of school-age families, and you could probably get to families of school-age children and just ask, like, where do your kids go to school and why, or something like that. Might not be a perfectly detailed tool, but hopefully would give us a better snapshot than we get by just asking in school. Or
Crystal?
What about like hospital fair day? Like, are we allowed to set up a table with like paper surveys or a link to a survey?
Pumpkin festival?
Yeah.
We know
Like-
that, don't we? I mean, not us, but the kids.
So is there something that, a tool that we would like, or a plan that we would like to implement in order to gather some data about the students that we are not capturing? No.
I'd love to see what's already currently available. I mean, that sounds interesting, right? Why reinvent the wheel if we don't need to? And it sounds like it's nationally normed, so it could be compared against other data sets from around the nation, right? So
Would it be interesting to have like the last 2 years worth to see if there's been any like,
since there's 50 and
3 years?
19 and
Yeah.
I think we have 3 years worth. We've been using Panorama for a few years now.
Yeah, and then if you could also provide the national, whatever your national comparisons are.
I think the reports that it generates for the different surveys we do, because we do one with staff, one with students as well, that I think it does show you right on the results.
Oh, cool.
Tab, right?
Yeah, and you can have it based on like a rural or urban setting. I mean, it kind of.
Huh.
It's pretty cool tool.
And the second point, I think that even since I don't think we were planning on having a meeting in July or August, is that what I'm remembering?
oh, we'll have to have meetings before then. We could just not meet until December, but. No, we have to decide when our next meeting is going to be.
But I think that in the meantime, that if administration wants to talk to their data guy and see about him coming up with some questions, I would disagree with that. I don't think the current results are what Lindsay is particularly looking for. And so I would love to have the data guy come up with some questions and maybe a draft wording on some things that we could look at. I'd rather not wait. I hate when we wait on things. I'd love to get this moving.
So I want, if that is something that the board agrees to, we need to be very clear on, I'm not sure the data guy is the right person to write these, but I also want to make sure that we as a board are very clear about what we're trying to accomplish here. So what are the parameters around this? How widely are we distributing? What are our goals for this survey? So I just think the board needs to decide that first.
I think what I'm understanding is that we're trying to determine why students that would normally be coming to our schools are choosing to go to other schools. So those students that reside in the towns that would normally be coming here that are either choosing to go to private school or choicing out in the high school to go to another high school, like why are they?
So Wyndham
not?
Central, are you talking about essentially then?
Yeah, really, and like there's kids in Jamaica that choose to pay tuition to go somewhere else. Well, why do they make that choice? Is there something? Maybe there's nothing we can do about it. Maybe they just want to. But is there a reason that is something this board could work on or correct, or maybe it's based on old information from? I mean, we know how that goes from 20 years ago.
Yeah, and do we want to know why families are choosing to go here too?
Absolutely, I think that's
I think that's pretty important as well.
It might be worth asking students too. Like, I mean, parents have their perception, but I think you could hear from students too.
Good point.
So do we want to move this project along, or do we want to wait? And if we want to move it along, then we want to assign someone to oversee the question writing process. Since the board is not probably going to meet in the next few weeks. Al?
I'd love to see what we have to kind of inform what we might want to think of for questions. And also, so you mentioned, why do they not come here? So I think it would also be, why do they leave, right? So there's, so there's coming and going. And I love the idea of students. And also I would say, it sounds like this is a one-time shot survey, right? Like, these need to be in by X date. I mean, I think I would just have start it at a date, and then, over 3 months have some events where you're gathering and collecting the data, and just, I think you'll have more than 19, hopefully.
Crystal?
I would agree with Al because I think once we get that data, then, you know, like in August, we can come up with that list of questions and hopefully have it ready to roll by the start of the school year. Seems-
And I would just disagree once again, and I would love to get somebody started on this sooner, because when we say that let's wait on another thing, then then what if in August we're like, well, actually, I would just love to get this process started, whether it's administration finding somebody they think, whether it's your data guy. I'm very interested to know who this, I love data people. Or if
hiding
it's
him from you, Peter.
Dang it.
At his request.
Probably. And I don't know, you said you were looking for someone to oversee it, or are you thinking you want to?
I was saying if Emily suggested that we'd want to look at those questions, and if we wanted to do something before the next board meeting, we would need to empower someone to do that for us. If not, then maybe between now and the next meeting, we can get the administration to give us the information they have, and if board members have ideas of the questions that you would like to have on a tool, we can bring it back to our next meeting and we can look at those items and maybe move forward from there. That seem like a reasonable plan?
Seems like a reasonable enough plan.
All right.
Well, I think you want Lindsay's input on that, because she's really
Yeah.
driving this. I mean,
She is.
I keep thinking this sounds like an exit interview. You know, like when you leave a job or you make a decision, it's like, okay, can you just talk to me a little bit about why you made this decision? And, you know, we have HR staff, and that may be really the place to go. Like, how do you ask this question to get at the root of what happened here? And, you know, why did you leave this school might not even be the right question. You know, what factors made this decision or whatever. So I think that really requires some thought. You know, and again, I agree with Alan that we want to look at what we have, and maybe some of those questions are things we want to ask these people as well. But then we also want to really think about the target audience and what do we really want to know, and you know, when we get the answer that says, well, I went here because I couldn't get 12 AP classes for my really bright child, we can do nothing about that, at least not currently. So we want to think about the questions.
Yep. All right, so one more comment and then we'll move on. You're good?
Yeah, I was just gonna add, I think both of these sets of information are important, but they're not the same. They relate, but I think we should be digging as deeply and as broadly as we can into our existing school community, what's going well, why are people leaving, but I also think that it's a little bit of a different set of questions and process to try to learn who's in the district and where they send their kids to school, and that's probably, I would suggest a more open-minded and objective question with repeated iterations to the town. Like, we can and should be working with the towns and whatever other kinds of ways to reach people, and probably over several months, because I think you have to hit people a lot if you actually want them to respond. I don't know that I respond to anything related to anyone, much less like my kids, if I get one email about it, for example. But I think it would be really valuable, whatever amount of information we learn. It sounds like it's really Lindsay's project, but if you're looking for some, I'd be happy to support that or work with her, whomever else on that if it's helpful.
Excellent. All right, moving on. Public transparency discussion. And I know Bob already talked about some changes that maybe Stratton's got on their website to try to make public information more accessible. That was one of the things that we discussed back in December, January, that sometimes it is very difficult on our website to find things, especially the things like policies and procedures, and it sounds like maybe you're making some piloted headway.
Right, well, so we are working with IT to develop the website. So there's two halves to the SU website. One half is the website with like the non-board stuff, let's say, the HR files and resources for teachers, resources for parents, those kinds of things, school choice applications, like that kind of stuff. The staff list and who does what. And then there's the board doc side, which is different. So they're starting with the easier side, which is the, the front-facing piece that's not just the board docs. They've taken 3 or 4 meetings with board document management companies, lack of a better way of saying it, to try to figure out how the back end might work, whether we're sticking with Google folders or whether we're doing something different, because that drives sort of the infrastructure of the site itself. And then the other side is like, which, we doing something like, we doing Google Sites, which are simplistic but free, or are we doing something that maybe has like a based platform? I know River Valley's has spent 20 to 30 grand with Edgeworks to do a site that they're not really happy with. It's like, we don't want to do that either. So they're playing around with a couple of things right now to come back with their recommendations on that. So there's been a lot of work going on with that one. We've tried to clean up some of the folders. Some buttons that lead to folders have multiple folders. Some of them have one folder. Sometimes the folder's this big and sometimes it's this big. And so that side, just to try to clean up in the meantime so it's least accessible. And then we did have a request from Allison and Stratton to say, look, it's really frustrating. I can't find policies because I don't know what the codes mean. And then we used the naming scheme for the documents with the codes. And so we didn't want to rename all the documents, so we are now playing around with different models to like see what it would look like if we had the names and the codes sort of in a column, and then the next column is the drive folder with the numbers, so you can actually, oh yeah, that's the one I want. So we're trying to figure that out and see what that leads to, but the legwork itself is really going to begin after July 1, I think, for that work. But we've been doing the thinking on the backside first, and they've been shopping around for what platforms might be available, what board document management things are available, and talking with regional boards to see what they do, or super's offices to find out what they do, and does it work, and they like it, how much does it cost, all that stuff. So yeah, we're in the works of that. It's a lot, but it will take some time. So our goal is to have a completed website by budget season, so that when people go and look, hey, what's the budget look like? It'll be relatively easy to get to, unlike the current one. So that's the goal. We'll see. Try to stay optimistic.
So on that, with the policies, are we going to be able to have the procedures, administrative procedures attached?
Yeah, that's just adding stuff to the folders.
So there's a single place when you're looking for documents, you can find them.
Yep.
And then one of the things that was talked about at the SU meeting was an org chart for the SU.
Yep.
Is that something for those people that weren't at the meeting, really kind of better visualizing what our educational structure looks like? Is that something we could do for West River as well? Is an org chart for each of our schools, or that way?
I mean, they're intertwined because they're staff from both and both, and so yeah, if you got to do one, you may as well just do the whole thing. Trying to figure out what we talked about in that meeting was what's the visual of that look like, because it was like this pretty quick, as far as an org chart. So whether or not the org chart is really just sort of the administrative pieces, and then you have like more charts of the actual staff and maybe who they report to, where they're located, what their job title is, funding sources, things like that. So that's kind of where we're at now. That's definitely a summer project. So
that should make having budget discussions easier in the fall when people can actually see kind of where those positions land. Are there other pieces of information that we should be making public facing that we are currently not, on top of the policies and the positions? All right. I think that is. You have something?
No.
I'm about to move. All right.
No, I'm sorry. Talking to myself.
So, do we need this first executive session?
No, sir.
All right, so we are going to scratch the first executive session, and we will now be moving into an executive session. Somebody want to make that motion?
I move to enter an executive session for a student matter under 1 VSA section 313(7).
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We'll move into executive session.
Joined.
All right, we are out of executive session.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to allow the student to be admitted to kindergarten early as discussed in executive session, and to hold the school choice decision until the numbers are more available, and that decision to be made by the administration.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
I have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion from the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Opposed or abstaining? The motion carries. And that is it for our agenda, so we need one last motion.
Oh, wait.
Hold on, do you want to confirm that date?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, me neither.
So do we need to meet in the month of July? Sometimes we don't. What is the pleasure of the board?
I would prefer not to.
Are we gonna have, let me ask Emily, are we gonna have crazy wild things coming from Montpelier that we're gonna need to discuss?
No.
No?
We can always do a special meeting if something comes up. Do a special meeting.
Yeah, I mean, if it's beyond, no.
We could be looking at a contract, but we could have a special
We'll do a
meeting.
special meeting for that too.
So then our next regularly scheduled meeting will be August 11th.
Yay.
Work? All right. Then one last motion?
I make a motion to.
Well, I just wanted to confirm that you didn't talk about contracts.
Nope.
You guys had authorized Drew to sign contracts. I gave him administrative contracts to sign today. He has signed them with your earlier authorization at the reorg meeting.
Right.
So that continues if we have new things we gotta do, but.
And I did bring it, I'm sorry. If anybody would like to review those contracts, I have them here. If anybody would.
That was it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we do it?
Anything else?
No.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Can we